said this, the thing about Nebraska's three quarterbacks that are battling for the job or battling to back up the guy is they're all good teammates. Like they're all competitive. They don't want anything handed to them. Because I think Caleb Williams wanted something handed to him. And I think one of the things Matt Rule has tried really, really hard, but now it's gotten away because you can't ignore the fact that Nebraska has something at that position, is you want them to earn it, is those guys are good teammates. Like good teammates among themselves and good teammates with the rest of the team, that they don't want anything handed to them and they enjoy the competition and it's driving the competition. I think that is a big, big thing when you're taking over quarterbacks that make you go, oh boy. And you introduce them to the real world of playing quarterback, that nothing is given and you got to go take it. And I think as they've done this, you're starting to see one guy start to take it. And that's like a perfect scenario. I think they've handled this really, really well through spring. But you can do this when you have three guys that are good teammates among them, their quarterback group, and then, of course, during amongst their team as some of the younger guys.
Yeah, and I know Matt Rule spoke about this a couple of weeks back about when one guy has a good day, the other guy feels that he needs to elevate his play. And so you see guys beginning to stack good days on good days. And when it comes to, I think more specifically to Dylan and then Danny Kaelin, is there's always, it feels like there's always been that competition even before they were wearing a similar uniform. And, talk about the Elite 11 when Dylan committed to Georgia and Danny Kaelin decommitted from Missouri and then came to Nebraska. Then you're told, hey, now Dylan's coming here. You know what that is going to be about. So to see that Danny Kaelin is continuing to put in the work to prepare himself, if nothing other than by the time this is all said and done, and Dylan Raiola is your starting quarterback, that Danny Kaelin will be so much further along than most freshmen as well, where you have a good situation. And then give Heinrich Haarberg credit. There's no way he's deaf to the noise of, the guy's not a quarterback. He's a good athlete that's playing quarterback right now. That's not going to be his position going forward if they want to best utilize his athletic ability. But he's putting in that work too. And it just seems like there is that presence that you do at least need in that quarterback room of a veteran that has got starting experience that can tell you about what it is when the live bullets are flying.
Hey, Haarberg was did Rule allude to this about the 99-yard drive?
He thought it was Haarberg.
It was Haarberg.
Okay.
Haarberg led the 99-yard drive in practice. So, and I push back. People talk about Danny Kaelin like the kid's a bum. Like he was a bum that was an afterthought when Raiola was brought in here. He's a good quarterback, okay? Don't judge off his senior year. He didn't have a lot of things that were on his side while he continued to grind. Nebraska's quarterback room is better than last year. And don't hit me up here because I know that last year was not that good. But it's over. If you wanted to be full into competition and go, oh my gosh, they're going to wait until the week of the UTEP game, and they may do that.
That'd be posture.
It's over. It's over, and it has been won in spring. If you were on the category of he's the guy from day one, and he really was, but you got to go out and prove it because you're going to be introduced to the real world of college football. Not like Caleb Williams, you're going to say you got to go out and earn it. So two things from Saturday.
Got to hit up my boy.
One.
Like that.
Is the next time that Patrick Mahomes tweets at Dylan Raiola, the internet's going to break in Nebraska. He's his son. He's got so many mannerisms.
Well, it's not actually technically correct.
The pity patter. Well, you never know nowadays. I mean, because they've got all that complication. Like people could be like the second son or whatever, second cousin. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
You never know these days.
Yeah, you know that whole family tree thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, my branches are all broke off, so I'm not all up on that. But all the mannerisms are there. Where's the number? So there's things, and it's not just him. So they have more intriguing pieces around him. So it's not on all of his plate. But two things from Saturday. One, on the run throwing. And then when you have wide receivers that put track shoes on and can outrun defensive backs to get to a spot, you got to have a quarterback that can throw the ball at that spot. There are two clips that are out there. One on a scramble out of the pocket, head up, running laterally, and then throwing kind of with a 3/4 arm slot to, it's either going to be caught or it's going to be incomplete along the sidelines.
Yeah.
And then there is a deep post that he threw to Jalen Lloyd.
Yep.
Like I said, if you want to do the hokey pokey with 15, it's okay to put your whole body in.
That's the one I don't want to overly drool about. The second one you talked about, where he's rolling to his right, then essentially fading back, throwing off balance, and still having the arm strength to get it to Jalen Lloyd, who's already created separation, and he doesn't really break stride. There are a lot of things that you can pick out of the highlights and just say, yeah, that's exactly what they are. There are some times in those highlights when you look at something, especially like that, the sheer difficulty of pulling off that throw under pressure, regardless if there can be contact or not, but looking where his body is and to make that type of throw, that's a hose.
So
that's an absolute hose.
The play to the sidelines, he was flushed out of the pocket, held the ball a little bit, flushed out of the pocket, kept his head up on the run. And I think when people see him up close on Saturday for the first time, he's a lot bigger than you would think. And that may sound strange. Like, I know he's 6'2", 220. He's big. Like, we might joke and say he's got a dad bod, but he's bigger in football pads than I would have thought. But the foot speed becomes, well, he's not having the same kind of foot speed. You know, the foot speed that he has, which I worked out pretty well for this guy, Zach Taylor. Yeah. So Zach Taylor was not a burner, but it wasn't like Zach Taylor couldn't run. But I think there's a difference between, as a quarterback, of just flat out, when you are a pro-style quarterback, of flat out foot speed, and then smart football speed, where when you need to get something, you get to a spot quick. And I think that's the difference with Raiola compared to some of the other quarterbacks that have been more of a dual threat quarterback before, a pro-style guy. But he just is, the football IQ is pretty enormous. And I think that can carry you a long ways while the rest of learning how to play in college catches up to you. Because here's what's going to happen. There are going to be times early in the season he's going to think he can make a throw into a tight window, and it's either going to get knocked down or it's going to get picked off. And then I want to see how you learn from that. Right. I actually would like to see early quarterbacks struggle Saturday, but I got a feeling that they won't, because I want to see, when you have to deal with adversity, how you pivot. And especially him, on when you have a play which looks great on paper and you run it precisely, and a guy makes a good play, or you're like, I got too greedy on that. What do you do on the next series or the next time you have that same exact play?
This was one of the areas that I was extremely optimistic about when it came to Adrian. And it wasn't necessarily what did he learn and applied it to the next opportunity, but it was the ability to process a mistake and to flush it and not let it impact the next series. I thought at 18 years old, when he was a true freshman, he was light years between the ears. He was light years ahead of what you would typically expect from a freshman. You hit on a key point there, though. It's one thing to have that ability to flush everything out. You always hear the short memory impact, but what did you learn from it too? And I'm 100% with you. This is where, when you have somebody that has been brought up the way that he has when it comes to the quarterback play, the anticipation, the ability to read, all of those little things that are going to pay dividends. It's not as if, okay, you're going to step onto the collegiate field and be able to pick up from where you left off in high school and be at such a high level. No, that's not, and that should never really be the expectation. The fact that the ability is there, you've seen it, you continue to see it in certain throws that he can make every one of them. But more than anything, for me, it is those early struggles that are inevitable. They're just going to happen. You don't play in a conference like that where somebody isn't going to make it their point, the defensive coordinators and that defensive personnel is not going to make it their point to be able to rattle you and try to put you in uncomfortable situations. But this is where I feel confident in that ability, not only the maturity, the physical and mental talent that I think he really does have, and being able to process what went wrong, whether it's listening to Glenn Thomas or just being able to see that on his own once it's played back on the sideline because you've got real-time video and you're looking at like, oh, man, why the hell didn't I see that? Okay, got it. It's locked in. On to the next one, and it won't happen again.